Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, everyone. Welcome to the Juneteenth Conf Town Hall. We have some very special guests in the building. Is everybody here yet? I think Frank's here, Michael's here, and I know that, Lance is supposed to be popping. There's Lance. Perfect. Are we missing anyone?
We had some technical issues with a few other of our panelists.
Okay.
So I think this is it.
All right. Well, here we are. So first, let's check in with everyone. How's everyone doing? How's everyone enjoying the conference?
Conference is awesome.
Phenomenal.
That guy Michael Brown just spends too much time on camera.
That Michael Brown.
Or not enough. For the man that did this, I mean, hats off to you, brother. An incredible conference, an incredible feat.
This is an amazing effort that, I mean, this is feat. This is an amazing feat. I can't even explain just how impressed I am, and the folks that I've been trying to share with are like, wait a minute, how did they put that together so fast? That's a lot of the feedback that I've been getting, and the quality of the sessions. Like, I attended the session right before this one, and it was really awesome. And so all right. Starting twice is nice. Okay.
Hey, listen, if there were no technical glitches, this wouldn't be a technical conference.
Wouldn't be a tech conference, exactly. But for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to the Juneteenth Town Hall. We're going to be discussing some current events and other things surrounding the current civil unrest, Black Lives Matter responses, and just kind of talk about what's going on, check in with folks, get some really good opinions. But first, I think before we had to start again, I was getting some feedback on how the conference is going so far. So tell us what's going on and how's it going?
Oh, I'm enjoying. I'm as big a fan of all the great speakers and learning constantly. You know, we've got a lot of emphasis on why diversity matters in technology. You know, from accessibility, from new perspectives. You know, and of course just now with the talk on AI. You know, it's like, how do you train properly? Let's use common sense. I like the fact that her algorithm was also PLC, so it has a double edge to it.
All right.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness, Labrina's in the building. Awesome.
Hello,
hey there. Welcome. So so before I keep going, actually, I'd like to do a round of introductions. I've full disclosure, I am across the country from most of you, which is pretty much an amazing feat in and of itself, the ability of this conference to bring folks from coast to coast together. So, I mean, that's amazing. So let's do a round of introductions so everyone knows who we are. Let's start with Labrina. Last one in, first one to introduce.
Woo, okay. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Labrina Loving. I have the honor of working with Michael every day, so I'm familiar with his amazingness already. But I was a software engineer at Microsoft. I've been in the industry for almost 20 years. Woman can't tell her age, but I'm super excited to be here as part of this event, and I'm really excited to talk with everyone in this town hall.
Awesome. Let's hear from Lance. Tell us about you, Lance.
Yeah, absolutely. And my name is Lance Goudy, and I'm coming to you from Dallas, Texas.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's not quite 100 degrees yet, but give it another 10 or 15 minutes.
I was going to say.
It'll be there. I've been working in technology now for over 30 years. The majority of my career has been in the nonprofit sector.
Mm-hmm.
I am the CEO of Goudy Management Group, a technology consulting company, and also the director of IT for Bishop T.D. Jakes and the Potter's House here in Dallas, Texas.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Oh, did I let that slip?
That was a bit of a humble brag, but we're gonna let it go. We're gonna let it keep on coming.
I know you buried the lead on that one, Lance.
That was the humble brag, Tim.
Come out with the bam at the end.
Exactly. No. Come out blazing, guns blazing at the end. Okay.
It's an amazing opportunity.
That's amazing.
Been with him now for just about 20 years.
Wow. Listen, we got some heavy hitters in the building. This is amazing.
And then
let Michael, don't even start with us. All right. We're not going to let you do this. Frank, tell us about yourself.
So Franklin Rosado. I've been in, my career has been tech, mostly nonprofit tech like Lance. So for 22 of my 25-year career has been nonprofit tech, mainly focused on the digital divide. I've worked at places like the Henry Street Settlement, Empower, Uncommon Schools. I ran technology for Planned Parenthood Federation of America from 2015 to 2019. And now I am leading technology for a Skunkworks project at Planned Parenthood that hopes to help bring it so that its business model can be successful under the new attacks that we have, as well as, making the change to the information age so that to ensure that our mission can be there in the information age. So that's a little about me. Wow,
that's awesome. What a breadth and depth of experience. And absolutely last but not least, we have the all around kind of like Titan in the building here, apparently able to pull together whole tech conferences at the drop of a hat. I'm not even sure how he did this. I'm waiting for the debrief for him to tell me. All I know is I just saw 100,000 emails flying through and then there was a conference. That's all I know. Michael Brown, tell us about you and tell us about how you're feeling. You've got to be proud.
Oh, so, I mean, as I've always been saying, it's all about the team. Seriously, I don't know how we did it because, like I said, having a great right-hand woman in Tess Stefano, she kept me in place. She kept the team in line. The team not in line, but kept them organized. Help bring issues that I needed to pay attention to unblock my team. That's what I am. I'm the fullback. Taking down the the front end or the tackle so that my team can run it through to the end zone, and that's what happened. There was so much activity. We have like 6 channels of teams working on individual aspects, and somehow all of that came together to what we're doing right now. About me, I'm 25 years into career. Frank and I went to school together. I came in during his senior year, and he was a great mentor to me my first year at Williams, and we stayed in touch, and I've been like ever impressed by the heights of his career. Just before I came to Microsoft, he was recruiting me for Planned Parenthood, and because of transitions that were happening, that fell through. I came here. Well, the offer came, and it fell through because the offer came. But no, I'm from Chicago. Will always rep Chicago, Bears fan, despite our failures. And this conference and the organization we're forming is basically not the culmination because there's so much more to do after this, but it is the realization of my lifelong mission that the next Michael Brown will have guidance, will have support, and will have the tools and opportunity he or she needs to like excel far beyond my career. Like just like a parent would want to give their children a launch pad that was more and achieve more than they ever could dream. I want future generations of Black technologists to have that same opportunity to stand on my shoulders and go farther than I could have dreamed.
Absolutely. That's amazing. I think one of the things that strikes me about Michael in particular, so just so you know, my connection to all this, my name is Kimeka Campbell, by the way. Mike
Dr.
and I,
Kimeka Campbell.
oh, sorry,
Right.
Dr. Kimeka Campbell, absolutely. And
Talking about Mary in the lead.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And Mike and I met online. We are true Facebook friends. Like, we met online and became friends in real life. Just to tell you the power of technology, right? And we met in one various blurred group probably on Facebook. And he saw some of the work that I was doing here. I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And I am the co-founder of the Young Professionals of Color of Greater Harrisburg. So last year, he saw some of the work that we were doing, and he pledged to our classroom drive. And then he actually came out and spoke to our community at the gala, being one of our top donors. So he had a chance to speak to everyone and tell his story to us, which was so wonderful. People still talk about what he said and the way that he kind of just stepped up to the plate and gave to something that he literally saw somebody doing and decided to help just like that. Didn't know me from a can of paint at all. So him being able to step in, see the need in the broader community. Our Adopt a Classroom campaign for the Young Professionals of Color supports the Harrisburg School District. It's a majority Black and Brown school district, and the money goes to enriching classroom experience for students. We do $500 grants per classroom. So even this year, he stepped right back up and was like, "Hey, listen, this is how much I'm giving this year as well." Like just like no asking, no kind of prodding or any of that. Didn't hesitate, and that's the kind of drive and connectedness to the community and passion that I see kind of displayed with this Juneteenth conference as well. So I am honored to be a part, and I'm honored to talk to you all today about just some of the broader community things happening. We've got Texas represented. We've got Seattle. Labrina, where are you? I missed that part.
I'm in DC.
DC
and Tech.
DC Tech, and then.
But I'm
Frank,
originally from Chicago.
We're originally from Chicago.
I,
okay.
Yeah.
And then
originally.
Frank, where are you at?
And why?
And why? So listen, we have got a spread here. I want to get perspectives from all. Now, are you in NY or are you in New York City?
NYC.
Okay. And which borough are you in?
I'm on the Brooklyn Queens border right
That's
now.
what I'm
wow.
That's my hometown. I didn't know that. I had no clue. It's my hometown.
All right.
Number one, just come all the way into Brooklyn. Number one, why you got to be on the border of Brooklyn and Queens?
Hey.
Don't do that.
Don't jump on that.
For those who know, Bushwick Ridgewood is where I'm at.
Oh, you're in Bushwick?
Okay.
That's still Brooklyn.
Yeah. Bushwick Ridgewood border. Right on the border.
But Ridgewood is Queens. So
Yep.
What street are you on?
I'm on Gates Ave.
Okay, you're still mostly in Brooklyn. It's touch and go over on Gates Avenue, but yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a Brooklyn native, Brooklyn girl.
All right.
But me and a couple of my friends think is people who are from Brooklyn never say they're from New York City. They always say they're from Brooklyn. So anyway, just a little. So we have a great spread of folks. So I'm interested in hearing your perspectives, particularly from your locations, because it's been such an interesting kind of outpouring of just activism and a whole bunch of stuff everywhere. So my first question is centered around, let's do like a city check-in. Like, how is it where you are? What's happening in light of current events and things with with the civil unrest and protests and things that are happening. So what's happening near you? What's going on? And anybody can take it.
So
okay, first I want to say this feels like the Black Lives Matter version of Around the Horn, right? So hopefully I don't get deduct at too many points and get silenced.
I got your reference. All right.
So I'll say New York is hot. Right?
Mm-hmm.
New York is hot. Everyone's up. You know, everyone's continue throughout. You see it big, you see it small, you see it in neighborhoods you wouldn't expect to see it in New York. New York is hot. You know, the mayor has not been handling it well. You know, and people calling him out on it. You know, people are standing up and people are stepping up and people not taking it no more. So, you know, let's see how much this goes, but know that New York is hot and people are protesting every single day. You go to Camden Plaza, you know, you go to Grand Army Plaza over there. There's protests almost every day, crossing the Brooklyn Bridge, going to Manhattan. People are speaking up. People ain't having it right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Texas, it seems like we're having these waves, these rolling waves where, you know, we're hot and there's a lot of attention. Of course, the obvious protest walks and shutting down bridges and such when everything first kicked off. And then it kind of dies down a little bit. I can say that the media is definitely feeding and helping to kind of light the fire. And I know the media gets a lot of, the press gets a lot of bad press at times, but this is one of those times where we really want them, you know, to kind of keep the pressure on, because this is different. I was born in 1968, and so what's going on right now for me is extremely significant. But I don't think that we're handling it. We're not like New York and some other places around the country, but that being said, I have to consider where I am. This is Texas. And so when I came here, I didn't really know what to expect. There is a huge racial divide, but it's not, there are some places where it's not really in your face. And so confronting it seems a little more elusive at times. However, there is a shift and we can definitely see that. But again, I think it comes in waves here.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and so for me in DC, it's been interesting because it's not just in DC. I kind of buried the lead myself. I claim DC, but I actually live in the suburbs in Maryland. So, and I basically say I live in suburbia USA. You know, we got a Walmart, we got a Target, we're suburbia. And typically there's always protests going on in DC. Some are very small, but there's always, DC really has come out in DC around the White House and all of those areas. What's been really interesting for me is to see in my neighborhood in suburbia USA, where I live, right outside the Walmart, there's protesting there. Wow. And people from all colors, all creeds, all out together has been really, really interesting for me to see, because that kind of tells me something different. Because there has been that kind of like, well, you see it here in the inner city, but you never see that in suburban. So it's been really interesting to see that. I'm excited for us to talk about what's next because it's been a cool gesture. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good start.
Yeah, awesome. And what about by you over there, Mike? What's going on?
So Seattle is very interesting because, you know, our demographics are not, there is not a heavy presence of Black people here. But there's some interesting things about Seattle. So Seattle is in King County, which was rededicated some decades ago in honor of Martin Luther King. So it's Martin Luther King County. yeah, it originally, of course, wasn't that.
Right.
But so there's a heavy progressive movement. I think this is where all the hippies came down to settle. And you look at what they're calling the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone.
Mhm.
I mean, the police moved out of the district, the precinct building they were in, and you're seeing a lot of conservative talking heads saying, "Oh, this is anarchy." They're actually comparing this to ISIS. It's like ISIS is taking over the city. It's like, yeah, I don't see that.
Not exactly.
There's no murder. There's a huge Black Lives Matter street painting that spreads the entire city block, and that's what's scaring people. They're like, oh, they've got these shops. They're bringing in communism. Like, you can literally go to a booth and pick up a case of water, and they're like, take a whole case. Take what you need. Take what you want. Who cares? You know?
Right.
And, I think it's laying bare the myth of socialism in America. It's laying bare that, hey, this isn't a destructive. This is about people supporting each other. And
Mhm.
that goes like there's a heavy support of white people of this movement because they're seeing it.
They see it.
And they made the mistake of escalating this situation in the middle of a pandemic when people have
Mhm.
nothing else to do.
Literally.
What else do we have to do?
Literally.
Show up and show our asses,
Literally. Yeah.
So, that's why I'm so excited about this movement because we've been here before. We've had protests about, let's stop calling it police brutality too. It's murder. It's racist murder.
Mhm. Mhm.
Whether it's no, I'm not going to even give quarter one there.
Qualifiers. Yeah. Mhm.
These are public lynchings,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's why I get concerned when people show this video. This is what they want. They want to show us that you don't matter. That's what they're saying. And that's why we had to reaffirm ourselves that Black lives do matter. Because
Absolutely.
America has for 400 years been telling us we don't.
Mhm. Mhm.
We built this country.
Absolutely.
The estimates are that over $30 billion of investment of foundational wealth of America was built on the back of slaves.
Tell it, buddy.
Tell the truth. Tell the people the truth.
So,
True, say no.
and every step of the way, America has had multiple opportunities to correct that wrong. After the Civil War, what they did was let the Confederacy, traitors to the nation, come back and run the Senate, sit in governorship. They gave us freedom, but they didn't give us protection or citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to, I went off. I have
Listen, don't get him started, okay? Don't get him started.
I have many soapboxes to jump on, but I'm going to talk about all of these moments in history that we could have addressed this problem, and how every time what it boiled down to is they're saying, oh, that's reverse racism. Mm-hmm. And so we need to break that myth, and we also need to fix and address what's wrong with this nation. Until we do so, we'll be in this place time and time again.
It'll keep happening over and over again. Absolutely. And so there's two things that are coming out of that. I have questions, but I also like to do it where I hear a topic that you guys bring up and kind of go that way as well. So I heard Mike, there's two things he touched on that I think are important. One, us going literally from quarantine into civil unrest. And I think this is a very important point to capture, and I'd like to hear from a lot of you. How are you understanding, and how are the people around you understanding how we moved from quarantine and kind of the attitudes that were around quarantine? Some people, for example, where we are, completely despise the quarantine and we're like, it's fake. coronavirus is bad. It's coronavirus is fake, and the way that the state governments in particular are handling it are bad. So going from that to, having folks, like in our state too, in Pennsylvania, we had folks gather at the Capitol and protest at the Capitol for their right to get a haircut, right? That's what they were protesting about. You guys get in these restaurants and serve me dinner. So going from that kind of protest and unrest, and I'm being very like flippant about it because I personally think it was ridiculous, but I understand that people did it. How can you tell me, guys, how you're conceptualizing and understanding moving from COVID quarantines into not even almost full civil unrest throughout every major city and beyond, throughout almost the whole world?
Let me kick this off. I'm glad you asked that question. So first, with regards to people that kind of dismiss, the action of quarantining and the need for it, I'd have to believe that these are people who have yet to actually suffer the consequences of it, or it just hasn't really hit home. I know people that I've gone to school with. I know people in my family that have had to actually deal with it, and I'm thankful to God that in my family everyone is okay. But I lost count of the number of people in my life, one way or another, that have actually fell victim to this. I see people, and I don't want to get on a bandwagon here, but with the whole what's going on in Tulsa right now, it's mind-boggling to me. I just really can't wrap my head around that.
Don't even get me started on that.
Secondly, I honestly doubt that the movement that we're in right now, and I'm not saying that I'm not trying to really capitalize on the pain that COVID is causing, but it's hard pressed for me to believe that we would have as strong of a movement as we have right now if it were not for the quarantine.
Right.
I think getting people at home when people don't have a 9 to 5 to go to per se, and now you have something that's in your face. You no longer have the excuse that you were at work, or you were just so busy, and what you were seeing could have been misinterpreted if you were in the midst of just the daily mayhem and such. Now, I mean, it's in your face, and because I can get up at 8 a.m. and go protest and shut down a highway, and I can do that all night because I don't have to worry about going to work, I don't think that this movement would be as powerful as it is if it weren't. That's just my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Lance, you bring up a really good point. I mean, and it's something I've thought about. I think in the past, they say everything happens for a reason. And in the past, I think when all of these issues have been brought to the forefront, there's been, people like looked on TV and they said, oh, that's sad. Please pass the potatoes kind of thing. And, it just goes out of your mind where, we're so now, because of this pandemic that's going on, we're so hyper-focused, and we now see it. Like, white people are like, we see it. And it's been mind-boggling to me to hear that. Like, Michael and I, we've had some town halls at our company, and I'm sure other companies have had. And one of the things that has been like striking, but sort of expected, is that so many people have come up to me and said, I had no idea. And I'm like, how have you not seen me this whole time? Like, I work next to you every single day. How have you not? I mean, it's offensive, but it's also
exasperating.
It's mind-boggling. I'm like, how have you not seen me? And I don't like. And I was saying, I think I tweeted this. I was like, like the most white privilege of white privilege things to have is to be able to live in this country and say, for the first time in 2020, I didn't see this. I didn't see this was going on. Like
It's so weird.
that's to me the most white privilege of white privilege things to say.
Literally.
Because it's literally what I face every single day of my life, in addition to coding, development, talking to customers, all the other things that I do in my 9 to 5 job. So yeah, it's been amazing to see that response. That response has been like earth shattering to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I have a question. I have a follow-up question to that. Especially for my Black folks on the thread, on the town hall. How many white folks have asked y'all if y'all are okay and what they can do?
I've lost count.
So
are you okay? What is there anything that I can help you with? And my answer to that unanimously has been, I don't understand why you ask me what you can do. Why are you asking me what you can do? You know all of the, what would you do for any other effort that had attention right now? They already know what to do. You would donate, you would volunteer, you would get more information about the effort. Why are you now? I've had people literally just say, well, whenever you tell me whatever I can do, then I'll do it. And I always say, give money, do your own research, and connect to organizations that are doing the work and support them. But anyway, go ahead.
Can I riff off of what Labrina was talking about, the inner office dynamics? People say it's not polite to talk about politics in the office. And the problem is that this whole thing has been positioned as a political issue. And if the right to live and not be assaulted and terrorized, I just posted, it wasn't from recently, but it was like a year ago, a video of a police officer pulling someone over to give her ice cream. But if you see her reaction, she's like, no, sir. He asked, do you know why I'm pulling you over? She's like, no. And then she corrects herself and says, no, sir. You can see she's terrified. She's like, what did I do wrong?
Right.
And, it was for a publicity stunt because they were recording it and they put it on YouTube. Even after, they didn't even notice her reaction. They didn't even notice how like a wave of relief. She wasn't laughing, but she was like, oh, so we're actually terrified during our reactions with police. Whenever my wife and I are driving and she notices a squad car, she like double checks that her seatbelt is on. We can be pulled over for the smallest things. So because it's political, it's been politicized when it shouldn't be. We all know about code switching. We all know how we have to segment our personal and professional lives. This first hit me when Trayvon Martin was shot, and I was working at a big oil company in the in the Houston area, and there was only one other Black coworker in the entire department I was working in, and I told him, I'm like, man, I feel like yelling right now. I feel so isolated, so invisible. Ralph Ellison's book, Invisible Man, that was me. It's like mind blowing. And that's another thing. When you say you don't see color, you're making us invisible, is what you're saying. So there was kudos to one of my teammates who said, you know what? I'm going to tell you I'm not okay. Everyone asking me, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? They don't want an actual answer. It's almost like a protocol. How are you doing?
Absolutely.
How was your weekend? Oh, awesome. That's what they expect.
Right.
If you see anything else, it's like a hope, because it's mostly asked in passing. You don't want to know how I'm doing. It's just a greeting. Just say hello. Move it on.
Yeah.
He brought this up and then led a department-wide meeting with so many people. We had to split out into 5 or 7 rooms to handle all of the conversations, and then came back to one large room where we shared. And it was so refreshing to have that happen, you know, because he was stressed out about this situation, and he was angry that he couldn't talk about it. And now, like, all around the company, these conversations are happening, and I would like the energy to stay up past this moment.
Absolutely.
So the other manifestation of that is insecurities visiting violence upon us in a time when violence has already been visited upon us, right? So, people feel like, oh, how are you doing? I'm a good ally, right? This, that, and the other. There's already violence on our community, right? We get this, and then instead of, 2 things I want to point out here. One, intentionality is really, really important, right? So a lot of times, I've heard, we brought up the fact a lot of white folks are involved in this now, and they're asking us, how y'all doing? What can I be doing? This, that, and the other. There's the intentionality portion of it, which is really important, right? People are saying, like, it's up to white folks now. We have to be extremely intentional with our language and what we're doing, right? Think of Angela Davis, think of Franz Fanon, think of that sort of mentality when we're going into this, right? It's not up to white folks to fix this. It is on white folks to fix this, right? This stems from what was created since the inception of this nation. People just coming into this for the first time, they are not only just trying to figure it out, but they're revisiting additional violence on the community that they're trying to help without understanding it. And that message very much needs to get out, and people need to understand that. And the other thing that I want to bring up, what you talked about, of the transition from coronavirus and pandemic lockdown into civil unrest, the soul of a nation is indicated by what it invests in and how it treats its people. And when you think about how well prepared was our medical infrastructure for coronavirus, when you see doctors and nurses putting on garbage bags, when you see the social determinants of health and what that meant for the African American, Latino, and Native American communities in the United States and what that impact was. And then when you look at the social unrest and you look at militarized police departments, well-funded militarized police departments, fully decked out with face masks, fully decked out with full armor gear and everything. And you realize how, when we talk about defunding the police, just look at that picture. Look at how you're treating your citizens who are speaking up with militarized police, well-funded, armored, well-prepared, militarized police. And when you talk about doctors who are trying to serve our folks, who are trying to save our people, who are trying to do something, and they're wearing hefty garbage bags, that just speaks for itself.
Absolutely. And this is a very good point that you're bringing up, because folks have been not in any time in history. People have been talking about defund the police for years, for a generation. And not in any point in that history has the movement been more popular than it is right now. And that is because folks, I think, can rally around the fact, finally, that police, number one, if you look at the org chart of any state, who's at the top of the org chart? The citizens, right? And it's the citizens who drive funding for all of these efforts. So when they're buying riot gear, they're buying riot gear with the tax dollars and the other monies that come straight out of citizens' pockets. Straight. Well, we had money left over in our budget, so we did ABC. We should be starting and the defund the police movement is ever present where I'm at, as well as I'm sure, for some of the rest of us. But we should be absolutely starting to demand accountability, if we haven't already, to where their monies are going when they say they have a surplus, where their monies are going when they say that they didn't, they can switch routes and reroute money into certain things because of whatever mechanisms are in place right now to allow them to do that. And start, really clamping down on the fact and that it is the money of the citizens that they're taking to terrorize citizens. This is a very important thing that I think our citizens are not understanding. These folks, not only are they not above the law, but they're not above the citizens on the org chart of any state or any city, right? They're not above the citizens. They are at the bottom because they are servants. So kind of rectifying that picture and starting to help folks understand that, I think, is really important to understanding more what it means to defund the police, right? Because I'm sure, as all of you know, and this is the next, it was a question as he's talking, what is your understanding of defund the police, and how do you think the next phase of the movement should look if we're actually serious about what we mean when we say defund the police? So how do you understand it, and what should the next steps of that movement be?
Okay, I'm going to jump in on this one. First, I want to bring up a very nice contrast in how the Minnesota protest, when armed people came to the Capitol and took over it and were in the faces of police and spitting on them, and the stoicism that they were able to show with those protesters. They showing riot gear? Did they shoot rubber bullets at people with guns? Maybe we should start showing up to protests with guns,
Maybe.
It might make them more cautious in how they escalate things.
And more respectful of citizens.
Exactly. But, you look at that contrast, they're throwing flashbangs, they're spraying pepper gas at peaceful protests. We aren't walking around with armed weapons and terrorized like they had state senators who were afraid to go to their job to legislate. That wasn't protest, that was terrorism. And again, like you said, for haircuts. To eat at their favorite Chinese restaurant, which they won't even go to now because their great and wise leader tells them it's a Chinese virus. So that's a big contrast there. What is defunding to me? I learned recently how much funding police departments get. In New York, it's over 54% for NYPD. And every other program in New York City has to fight for less than half of the taxpayer dollars. That is so backwards. All around the country, topsy-turvy, the police get 50 or more, the majority of the funding from your taxpayers. And you're seeing cases where, a lot of these arrests that come at the end of their shifts are so they could get overtime. So they're bogus arrests so they can fill out paperwork and get overtime. I get salary. If I stay in the office until 12 in the morning, guess what? I get the same amount of money as
the same money.
They're saying Blue Lives Matter, but that's a job. That's not a condition you were born into. It's a choice.
That's exactly right.
Yes, we do care about you, but we're not going to give you a pass. So yeah, when my taxpayer dollars go toward a system that has been infiltrated, according to the FBI, has been infiltrated by white supremacists, when that toxic culture has permeated police departments across this country, and like I said, this continues to be the slave patrol modernized. They're rounding
all it is.
And putting us into prisons and telling us to work for free. They're breaking up families. They're creating bogus war on drugs. That the drug problem they created. Look it up. The NSA admitted in a document, the CIA, they admitted that they did funnel or allow drugs, look the other way while drugs were being funneled into community. Kiki and Ray knew how to make a freebase cocaine.
Right.
You think they had chemists and drug trials to say, oh, here's a more effective way to sell cocaine.
Right.
They put it into our community. They made it a black thing. They called us super predators. And then they said, we're going to crack down on it, literally.
Wow.
Where they put a 500 to 1 ratio on the crime for possessing crack over cocaine. You carry a half a kilo, and you could carry a half a kilo before it becomes a felony.
Yeah.
Cocaine. You carry 5 crack rocks.
Literally.
And you're going to 10 years.
Yep.
So the system needs to be broken apart from the bottom up. That's to me.
Yeah.
That's a great point. What you said. I want to put it into the atmosphere. That we and then Labrina, you're absolutely going to talk. Oh, we only have 10 minutes left.
Sorry, me and my big.
When did that go so fast? What?
I know.
But here's the question. All right, so we're not going to let Mike talk anymore. He just makes too much sense, and then he talks forever. We just no more of that.
Around the horn.
No, but he did raise some great points, and the point that I want to try to get us to is this idea of abolition versus reform, right? So a lot of folks are talking about abolishing certain systems, abolishing capitalism, abolishing modern day law enforcement, which, as Michael brought up, a very good point, is literally a derivative, not even a derivative, it's a direct result of slave patrols, right? Modern day law enforcement is that. Folks don't like, oh no, it's not the same, community policing and sensitivity and blah, blah. No, when the community policing can literally go out the window at any moment when dealing with people in the community, then it's not as upfront a concept as people keep saying. But anyway, I want us to talk about what it means and Labrina, I'm going to put this one on you. What does abolition mean to you, and what does reform mean to you? And how do you see those concepts playing out in the current times that we're in?
Yeah, so it's really interesting for me to, when we talk about all these concepts around defunding the police and, and people are like, oh no, like people that, there are people that are like, oh no, but now I won't feel safe if we've defunded the police and we won't. But it's sort of like, you got to figure out, how did we get to, I'm a software programmer, so I gotta get to root cause. So it's not the now this is the civil unrest. Like, let's not we need to get to what caused the civil unrest, and let's fund those things that cause it. It's lack of education. It's lack to access to equity. It's lack of access to health care. All of those things is what is the cause of civil unrest. We're looking at the results and trying to put Band-Aid after Band-Aid, more policing, more this on it. Let's go back to the basics and figure out how do we resolve that. And as a technologist, I'm always going to put it in technical terms. So one of the things that was really harrowing for me, as I work with, I work a lot with state and local government organizations to help build technology systems for them. And one of the things that has always been really striking for me, I get to go up, talk to all these executives and go to the whiteboard and show them all these cool systems that we can build with tech. So if I go to but the thing that's interesting is there's no funding for technology,
Right.
we're seeing it today, right? It was so funny to me. All the unemployment systems are running on 50-year-old software.
Right.
And because there's no funding for those systems. And again, all my colleagues are naively like, why are these systems running on, why is unemployment benefits running on like 50-year-old software? And it's like, well, because they don't have any money. But you see the police officers, they have state-of-the-art equipment, state-of-the-art technology. I mean, it was heartbreaking for me because I worked with some really awesome organizations in certain states that had some really creative and amazing ideas around foster care, how to support youth in foster care, how to support all of the mental issues that plague so many people. And I was like, awesome, like we're on board, like here's how we could do this solution. And they told me, they're like, Labrina, we can't get funding for that. Like we're lucky if we could get a desktop underneath somebody's desk to run something. And I'm like, how can we move forward if all of these other systems are broken? And so for me, it's all about the defund the police and the abolition versus reform, about getting our infrastructure, the ecosystem that produces these results in place, versus let's put more people in jail as they disrupt the system. Like like someone always said to me, it's like everyone always like sees like the person who's screaming in anger, and they're like, oh, why is that person screaming in anger? But nobody asks, how did that person, like, we got to shut this person up for screaming. But no one ever asks how that person got to that point. And so so for me, it's like, we got to walk back and say, how did we get to this point?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's tone policing, right? It's
absolutely
it's
right.
Angry at what you're saying, the way you're saying it, and totally going to ignore the message that is very valid because you're not saying it nice enough.
Oh, absolutely. So we have 3 minutes, and I want to throw out one last piece to you. And I want you guys to be expeditious in your answers. Okay. So everybody can get a turn, and we're going to start with the two who haven't spoken in a while. But tell me how you see the role of technology, any part of the tech world, advancing the fight in racial equity and advancing the platform of things like organizations like Black Lives Matter, and how you see things going forward from those aspects, from a tech aspect.
Frank, you want to? Oh, well, I'd like to start it. Well, let me say this. I think I don't think, but I know for so long we've been playing catch up. And we've been dealing with kind of hand-me-downs. And God bless Sister Parks. I'm grateful that we no longer sit in the back of the bus, but we're still at the back of the line, right? And so by the time you get to the front of the line, those resources are gone and they're spent and so on. And when is replenishment, we're really dealing with kind of hand-me-downs. And so while, my white brothers or others are moving ahead, we're always kind of trailing. So going forward, what we really need to focus on, and I want to take advantage, and I'm going to make this very quick. I want to take advantage of answering something.
Because we have 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. Okay. Bottom line is, we need to, we talked about a system being broken. I think we should put our resources together and fix what's broken or correct the system as a collective effort. And then when white people ask us, what can we do? Take advantage of the opportunity and give answers. Okay. We need solutions.
Absolutely. Frank.
Take our space, don't be nice. HR departments like there's no pipeline. That's bull dookie.
We know it.
We all know it, right? So me, I had a very successful career in tech. I was a history and political science major, never took a computer science course in my life. My first interview, they asked me how to network computers. I was like, plug it into the phone line, right? But now I got my master's in information systems, right? Now I've led some large organizations. I've been head of technology at large organizations. We need to take our space and bring our people with us.
Exactly.
We can't take the BS anymore.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, we have 35 seconds left. And I just want to say to everyone listening, I hope you got something out of this, something great out of this today. This has been an amazing discussion. We got to do this again because I think we just barely hit the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah.
Barely hit the tip of the iceberg. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for attending this town hall. And you'll be hearing more from this great team, the Juneteenth conference team, as to what's coming up in the future. So we thank everybody for tuning in.